In this video, I will show you the tests that I do with my clients to check if they have diastasis recti and how you can do it for yourself. I recommend that you wait until you are 8 weeks postpartum to perform this test. The reason being that in the first 8 weeks is when the diastasis will naturally close. So if you test before that, you may feel one anyway, but it's at 8 weeks that hopefully it has come all the way together again, or is gradually making its way there. Every woman heals differently, it could be 9 or 10 weeks. So wait until then. Anytime before that, treat yourself as though you have a diastasis recti and engage in the diastasis recti safety protocols I'm going to teach you, and that will only encourage it to heal. And if you had a slightly wider natural diastasis while pregnant, then it might take a little longer to come in, and all of those are just going to help that. If this is the first time that you're hearing about diastasis recti, I'll give you a quick explanation. It is commonly associated with pregnancy and the postpartum period, but it can also occur in men and in women who have not carried children. What happens in pregnancy is quite naturally your abdominal wall stretches. The abdominal wall having some layers of muscles. We have the transversus abdominis muscle, fibers run across to the edge of the edge of the six pack. You have the abdominal aponeurosis up here at the side, so the transversus comes to there. Then we have on top of that the oblique muscles. We have the diagonal fibers of the oblique muscles, and then in the center we have some connective tissue with the six-pack muscles there as well. They're called the rectus abdominis. So diastasis recti are the rectus abdominal muscles in a state of 2 instead of sort of 1, moving as 1. So along the center you have the linea alba. So from the breastbone to the pubic bone we have the linea alba. In pregnancy it can be called the linea nigra. This is when it gets a darker colour. So linea alba is white lines, white connective tissue, and when it gets that darker colour it's called the linea nigra, or black line. That's all goes brown. So what happens in pregnancy is this line stretches forward, it stretches lengthways as the baby grows. It also stretches horizontally across, so it gets a little bit wider. And this is when the rectus abdominis muscles are starting to move away from one another, away from the midline. And that's quite natural diastasis recti, the rectus abdominis muscles being in a state of 2. After pregnancy, everything starts to move back inward and toward its preconception state. Sometimes it doesn't. At 8 weeks, we might still have a little bit of separation of the rectus abdominis muscles, and that's the diastasis recti. So for the test, we are going to be laying on your back. I hope this is comfortable for you. You can choose, I just have it on the mat today. You can do it laying on your bed. It's probably recommended to do it on a firmer surface, so maybe on a rug on the floor would be better. So to come down onto the floor, we don't want to use the oblique muscles, so the muscles at the side of the abdomen, or your rectus abdominis muscles either, if you suspect that you do have one. So to come down on the floor, you're going to use your arms. So we take the legs onto the sides, so you're sitting on the edge of your hip. You're going to use your arms to carry your upper body weight down. Make sure it's all the way down. I often get to this part and then use my abs to take me the rest of the way. So top arm helps, the other one slides out, and you finally all the way down, and then roll onto your back. And then when you're here, make sure you're pretty comfortable. You're going to have knees bent, feet nice and heavy on the floor, head relaxed back. So I do the test in 4 stages with my clients, 3 or 4. So the first is just to test if there is a little bit of separation. So in order to do the test, you want to firm or engage the rectus abdominis muscles. So when they're firm, you can feel if there's a little separation in the center. What I usually feel is like a little valley in between the 2 sides. So you're going to use one arm behind your head to support your neck, so you're not going to be coming up in a full crunch. So a full crunch for me would be up to about there. What we want to do is come up maybe even a third of that way, just enough that your six-pack muscle, your rectus abdominis, does become a little bit firm so you can feel each end of it, or hopefully all the way across. So we're going to find our belly button, our navel, and you're going to go a tiny little bit above. So you're going to sort of feel around the edge. My experience from testing clients is where they will typically be a diastasis recti. The navel being a slightly weaker spot along the linea alba tissue. It's usually where a little bit of separation occurs. So arms supporting your neck, fingertip at the midline, and you're going to curl up just a little bit. So you're going to feel that the muscles become firm. And what I do first is just really, quite lightly, rub my fingertip across so I can feel the left side and the right side of the rectus abdominis muscle, six-pack tissue, and feeling if there's any valley in the center. So if you do feel like there's a little valley, you're going to go a little bit above. You're going to move gradually all the way up toward your breastbone, feeling if it continues all the way up, or if it maybe if it's just around the navel, and then a little bit below, so you find just below your belly button, and then moving downwards. And my lightens are here, so you might have to draw them down to get a more sensitive reading at your fingertips. And then you'll take your head down. So if you haven't felt the valley, then you do not have a diastasis recti. If you have felt a little bit of a valley, then we're going to continue. So what I do next is I turn my fingers, or my client's fingers usually here, sideways, and then we're going to test how many fingertip widths it is apart. And everyone's fingertips are different size, so my fingertips can be different to the client's fingertips. So I usually use theirs so that if they're retesting, they'll know which, if it's narrowing, if it's their fingertips, they'll know if it's gone from 2 to 1. So we do the same. Head supporting, arms supporting your neck. Your fingertips are just above your navel. And we're going to do that a little bit of a curl up so that the abdominal muscles do fire and engage. And then you do the same sort of slow movement all the way up, feeling how many fingertip widths the gap may be. So in my experience, it's usually been about 2, sometimes 1.5. So remember which fingertips that you use as well if you're taking a note. And it might be the index finger and ring finger, or the index finger and middle finger. And then you're going to all the way up to the breastbone, and then take your head back down. And then the same below the navel, so the diastasis recti can be just above, it can be above and below, it can be just below, it can even be a little wider up toward the rib cage. So we'll take a note all the way along the midline. The last part of the test is to check the quality of the tissue. So here you probably want to have something slightly thinner on, or even pulling your t-shirt up so that you can feel more directly. So we do the same test with a different feeling. So we're going to do a little bit of curl up, and what you want to feel is how firm the tissue in that gap is. If it's quite soft and you feel like your fingers are going to really sink down, don't push down. You only want to get a light gauge at the very surface, because pushing down is going to stretch the tissue just with the test, and we don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're protective of this tissue. So a little bit of feeling, just getting an idea of all the way along again in the gap, how firm it may be or how soft it may be. We're hoping for some firmer tissue and really, really soft tissue. And sometimes I do a fourth test where from laying down, I'll apply a little bit of pressure, again, aiming not to push deep down inside the woman's abdomen. And what I'm feeling for is if their six-pack muscle is starting to close when you crunch, and then coming back down. And it's not with an active sense of tightening your abdomen first and then crunching. I want to feel that that tissue is starting to fire quite naturally, that you get that pre-bracing, and then the tissue comes together as you close, which is a good sign. So that's the fourth optional one as well. And that is the test. So I'd recommend doing the test at 8 weeks, and then maybe again 1 week later or 2 weeks later, just to see if it's starting to come together, maybe getting a little firmer. And remember that every woman heals a little differently, so the 8-week mark isn't standard, it's just a recommendation, a general average guideline. It may not come together at 9 weeks, 10 weeks, 11 weeks, so it just depends. So we're going to come back up from the floor just as we came down, so that again you don't use your oblique muscles, use sort of the weight of your legs to turn you on your side. So walk your feet away and then let the legs drop over, and use your arms to come over so you're on your side again. And then use your arms to press up, so your elbow and your top arm helps you get up that little bit. And then your arms push you all the way up, and you're back upright again. This is the first part of a 2-video series, maybe even 3, 2 for now, that I'm going to do on diastasis recti. So the first being the test, and the second part being what to do if you have felt a little bit of separation. To find the video, I will have it pop up somewhere here on the screen. I will also have it down below in the description box. If you find this video to be useful for you, please give it a like. I have lots of content planned for my channel, so please subscribe and you will be notified of it as it comes up, or it will come up in your YouTube feed. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.